Happy 2016 and welcome back. I have to say, I was looking at these trees today and thinking, oh, they have to come down. And then I remembered, maybe we could be Swedish. In Sweden, the trees don't come down until it's called the 20th Knut, the unknot the knot. And there's a song you sing when you dance the trees out. So maybe I'll look for that and we can still see our lights twinkle for a while. We could undress them, but have them. They're great. It's lovely. Isn't time around the holidays just the weirdest thing? I never know what day it is. There I was lolling around in the post-Christmas haze, and I suddenly remembered, oh, after the New Year comes a weekend. And in that weekend, there's a Sunday, and I'm preaching. Luckily, that was a Tuesday, so there was a pretty good shot that there would be a sermon. You'll let me know. This time of year, I have a lot to do to get set up for the year of musing so that I'm more than usually aware of the changing of the year. I've been very fond of the moon motif and with working with my friend Lorraine's pictures, so I was sad to see it finish, and especially not to see the moon in the last week of the year. I mean, it's not as if the moon's not going to be here this year, but that was our moon year. But I'm excited to start this year's musing because I'll be working with 7 different photographers. Each day, there will be a new photo. Each photographer has a theme, but the whole theme is about being exactly where we are. If one more person says to me, okay, Christmas is over, it's time for summer, as if the time between had nothing to offer anyone. If nothing else, we have a yard sale to prepare for. And when summer comes, it will be too hot or too humid or too something, and we'll want something different from what is. We have on this earth a finite amount of time. We don't have days or years to wish away. Ask anyone who has lost someone or something. To be sure, some days, some weeks, some months, some years are more challenging than others, and there are times of the year that we are preternaturally better suited to. But to wish that time away is to relinquish the possibilities for those days. Nothing to see here, we say, move along. But there is something to see here. There is beauty to enjoy. There is pain to experience. There is in every day the possibility of mystery and ecstasy. There is life in all its ridiculous possibilities and mundane realities. UUs don't talk a lot about mystery or ecstasy, and I think we're wrong to give that up too easily. It isn't really the day's fault if we don't find beauty in it. The day has a full complement of beauty. We just have to be present to notice it, and present to that particular kind of beauty. Noticing what is wonderful fuels us to deal with the things that are not lovely. It fuels us to say yes to what we want. I've been thinking a lot about yes. Deliberate yeses. As I watch the world, it seems that we're allowing no's to shape it. The fear and the hatred are about no. I don't know you, I don't understand you, therefore no. The door slams shut and fewer people are allowed into the sacred circle. It is so un-UU to not live into every day. And I, of course, like it because you never know what you might miss, and I never want to miss anything. That's a part of being the last child, I think. You always want to stick your nose in stuff. But for me, part of coming to terms with my feminism was dealing with the yeses and nos of living in a woman's body. Part of the sexualization of women includes not owning the right to one's own body. That means you have neither the right to say no, nor the right to say yes. Both are assumed. It's only as recently as 1993 that spousal rape became illegal in all 50 states. My friend Alexandria told me about teaching a course to hospital staff about domestic violence and in-hospital sexual violence, and a doctor, not from this country, couldn't even understand that spousal rape was possible. It really wasn't even a concept that could enter his head. His sense of entitlement with women's bodies, particularly a wife's, was that deep. He tried to get my friend removed from her job as the sexual assault response team coordinator and chief forensic nurse, and then thrown out of the hospital. In the same way, this furor around Black Lives Matter also talks about the no. Ta-Nehisi Coates' book did such a good description about living in a black male body and how it is feared, or how feared it is, and how it is violated as a result. First by whites, but also in self-loathing by blacks. That the notion that black lives and black bodies might matter is so controversial that people deface buildings where signs are up. I mean, really, it's a sign. It's a pretty shocking indictment of the no. Have you heard the way people talk about our president? It's not his viewpoints they differ with. It's his existence. And what they say about Michelle is even more sad and shocking and inexcusable. Somewhere people are screaming, no, you have no right to existence. We hear the same stories about the GLBTQA folk. We're horrified because trans folk might use a bathroom stall. But we're not as horrified when they get beaten up. Life for people with disabilities is cumbersome and dangerous, even with laws. There's a big law that's going on now that is going to, that Barbara's been very involved in, that is going to limit the amount of pain medicine that people with disabilities can get. Now, some of this is sheerly because doctors have been throwing out pain meds, but without thinking about them. And there are certainly people who are addicted to pain meds, but they're going to punish the people with the pain rather than clean up their diagnosing. But life is cumbersome for people with disabilities and dangerous even with laws, and access is still denied. And if one man hadn't picked up a dead baby boy on a beach, would we ever have believed that the Syrians were people? Would we see that child, or we could see that child, but not the 14 who died the next day? Because as I was looking around yesterday for some information on this, and someone was writing about numbers and how numbers inhibit our response of empathy. And the quote is, "One death is a tragedy, and 1,000,000 deaths is a statistic." Too often, we cry no. There is no room at the inn, yet we must hold the truth of our human tendency to be overwhelmed or indifferent in tension with what we know to be right. We are responsible for holding the possibility of peace. As UUs, we have to keep looking at that first principle and remembering every person's worth. Our lives and our world are filled with no's. As mostly middle-class white people, we have the luxury of being tired of hearing about this. But none of the people in these groups have the ability to be tired of living with these no's. What would it look like if rather than focusing on what we don't want, we focused on possibility? We don't ignore the stuff that's out of balance. Indeed, we must take stock of the injustice and inequalities, for it's only then that we can figure out what some solutions might be. Thinking back to what I was talking in the prayer about the death penalty, I ran into Walter Everett at a party this Christmas, and I don't know if anybody knows Walter, but he was a Methodist minister, I believe, whose son was killed in gang violence. And at some point in the process, he realized that he could not live with himself unless he forgave his son's killer. And he went through a long process of coming to peace with that, a process that cost him his marriage, and really annoyed the man who had killed him, and he sent a letter to the chaplain, in care of the chaplain, to tell this guy that he had forgiven him. And the guy went crazy when he saw the letter, because he said, wait, I'm doing my time. I don't have to know that this guy was a person. And they eventually worked through it, and they now move around the country speaking. And Walter has said, why have I not yet been brought to speak at your church? And I said, yeah. So I think we're going to get the priestly pulpit thing back in gear, and sometime this winter we will have Walter come and speak. And I mean, he's 80-something years old, and it's amazing. And we have him here in our valley, right? But so anyway, we have to take stock of the injustice and inequalities, for it's only then we can figure out what some solutions might be. But to fixate on what's wrong and just repeat and repeat and repeat, that changes nothing. Indeed, it makes it worse. I believe that we need to focus on the possible and on the highest good. I wonder from time to time whether my drumbeat for peace or your own is naive and Pollyannish. All I have to rely on is the fact that I have been changed by this process, and others have joined me in clapping for the Tinkerbell of peace. As I think about peace, I make different connections. I see different things. I have a deeper understanding of what divides us. I'm actually nicer when I focus on peace and possibilities. I let go of the snark because it doesn't help. It's not that I don't have my moments or enjoy them when I do. I think it's important, if you're good at something, not to let go of it entirely. But they can't be allowed to interfere with my working on what is possible. I can make little steps, and they succeed, and they give me hope, and some don't. Some fall miserably on their face, and then you think, okay. But when they do succeed, they give me hope that each of those little steps will lead us toward what we want. We all take little steps. And when we all take steps, life changes. This year, in our congregation of 65 or 70 families, we gave $27,000 to charity. That's 20% of our working capital. What is it, 7 years ago? We gave nothing. And now we're given 20%. Because of what we say and do this winter, people we don't know kept Alternative Advent, and some of them sent their money to the Love Project. I have heard from a friend who reposted Alternative Advent, which was then reposted and read by a teacher in Montana. She wanted to know if she could get the full list because her class was keeping Alternative Advent and buying presents for kids whom Santa would otherwise not have been visiting. And as you know, people at the synagogue joined us and kept Alternative Hanukkah. Earlier, the Sunday school at the mosque donated to our fund. We're helping to build a valley that cares, a valley that longs to be one where there are no hungry children, and then perhaps no hungry people, ever. A valley where people who don't look like us or believe what we believe are comfortable and at home and part of our lives. To do this means letting go of our fear and our indignation with those who think so differently than we do. I'm not sure that was the right adjective, or did I need an adverb there? I'm not sure. It means finding a new way to talk to each other. I say again and again, I believe that's our job. That's what UUs need to do. We need to find the different language. It's time for me to go back and for some of you to come to reading the book The Righteous Mind, How Good People Are Divided by Religion and Politics, and it's for us to figure out how to talk to one another across our divides. Talking across divides has got to be learnable. Marketing is built on this. If we can be manipulated into buying a certain kind of jeans, why can't we help one another move toward peace? It's a new year. Let's let peace dawn. And while we're letting it dawn for the world and our little valley, how about we learn to let it dawn for ourselves as well? I've heard a bunch of us grumble about weight or debt or lack of exercise or lack of sleep. Oh, that was me. And not enough time with our families or not enough time with ourselves or even not enough time or money donated to a charitable cause. I've heard us grumble, and then I've heard us grumble again. And as in the book Waiting for Godot, rien se passe. I know that there are a lot of areas in my life that need some balance. I also know that it's easier to deal with some things when we're not out there on our own. I've done some research looking to corroborate what I'd read. I thought I'd read. Isn't that how we do it? I think I believe this, so where is that? But what seems to be true is competition can be a good motivator for caretaking, a good cause can be a good motivator, and community can also be a good motivator. Cause and community also work pretty well as support. Fear, the no, is often what we use as a goad, but while it might start change, it doesn't always work well to maintain it. Oh, and simplicity, a key. So, Sarah and I started talking. The first thing that happened is that we both realized that more exercise is one thing we wanted, and now we have a date to walk on the track at Bucknell Monday, Wednesday, and Friday at 8:30 in the morning. Now we're talking health and prep for the UUCSV. Watch out. We'll have more time and more energy for do-good products for the Congo. For me, this will be a secondary benefit. Really, I think right this year my first goal is to sleep more. If I have an 8:30 date, I'm going to have to go to bed earlier, which means Honey Boo Boo here should get off the computer at 10 o'clock every night. I give you permission. See me there, say, go to bed, Anne. But what if we helped one another get in whatever kind of shape it is we choose? It's what communities who care about one another do, right? The road to peace is a long one. We must be ready for the journey. The second thing we talked about was cause. If we set up the challenge in such a way to require financial investment, small or large, what did we want to do with that money? Excuse me. Now, our knee-jerk response was, what about using our goal setting for love flows? It's what we do, right? But then we thought, although not all of us are going to be working on physical stuff, because some of the challenges I've heard are fiscal or time-related, what if we started a kitty for our future home? If our bodies are our temples, then our building is our community body. We're not going to raise a lot of money with this project, but we could raise some. And I keep learning some money is better than none. It might lead to other good fundraising ideas. It might get us more of us interested in investing and making that move. We can't start a building fund yet because we don't have a goal or a building. But there's no reason that instead of paying Planned Parenthood $10 a month, that's not who I meant. Weight Watchers. Interesting. And actually, they're $10 a week. We might not hurt us, but we'll bypass that, right? But we couldn't build a kitty. It's sort of a win-win or a lose-lose. We get health and stability. We don't have a strategy yet. I started obsessing and planning the Facebook page and maybe a spot on the website, and then I realized, wait, there are people here who do strategy. I can talk to you. There's a rich variety of expertise here. To get what we want, whether for ourselves or for the community, we have to ask a deeper question than just, would you like to lose 800 pounds? And put a little sign outside the way they do at the doctor's office. Have you seen this? 23,000 pounds lost. He has a lot of people who work at his office, or very skinny people. But the question is, what are we willing to sacrifice to take care of ourselves? We're UUs. The word sacrifice does not roll readily off our tongues. We do well with meaning, but what meaning do our goals embody? What principles? But I think the word sacrifice is an important concept to live with, that we put something of ourselves aside because we want something. We're soon going to be at Martin Luther King Sunday, and I'm not sure if it was he who Gandhi said, if you don't know what's worth dying for, you don't have anything worth living for, or some variety of that quote. The best challenges are apparently 2 to 6 months. 6 months would take us to the end of our fiscal year. So we're going to figure this out. You'll help me. We'll help people figure out what motivates them and try to be you about this and be the thing that each person needs. I know we're all fabulous as we are, because we are. But I'll bet that for each of us there are some things or one thing that would make our lives easier or richer. What if we made little adjustments in our health and well-being that made our lives better and allowed the people around us to actually see us as they are? Because sometimes they do, but don't mention. It's always disconcerting to realize that someone knows you better than you know yourself. And I'm not talking so much here about vague resolutions as I am about setting measurable goals. Want to write a book? You know you have to write a certain number of pages every day, or there's no book. So, see me after church if you're interested in playing challenge. We'll figure it out. See if we can't do both ourselves and our community some good. Who knows, if we get it right, there may be a chance for some of you non-challenge takers to invest in our community's well-being or your friend's health. And in this very patchwork sermon, the last piece is a comment about a blessing jar that's going to appear. I warn you that this happened before Sarah and I even started our walking schedule, and quite a few people have shown interest. She posted something on my Facebook page. But you can imagine with fondness or horror what might happen next as we keep walking around the track. But you may have seen the suggestion. I'm guessing it started on Pinterest, since many of these things do, but to make a jar for the year in which you accumulate your accomplishments. Sarah's suggestion was that we do one of these jars in preparation for our 2017 25th anniversary celebration, which will be at the Service of the Living Tradition, February, I believe. So every time the church sends out a check from Love Flows, or someone joins the church, or the kids finish a Sunday school curriculum, or we hold a vigil, or we who knows what, we put a note in the jar. Maybe we highlight some of these things in the Phoenix every month, as long as we get them in before the 15th, and as long as it's not me who's required to send them in. We'll figure it out as we go. Sarah's been looking for a vessel, and we thought, well, maybe we'll have to buy something. And I thought, wait, this is when being in a community helps. I don't think like you do, but you change me and help me grow. I've said before, I think I might have holograms of a few of you on my writing desk who go, Anne, pay attention. And at this point, my Marie hologram said, wait, someone has the perfect vessel for this languishing in their cupboard, ready to become the container for our sense of accomplishment. So go home and look. When I texted Sarah to say I would say this, she said, it adds to the magic. I replied, if someone else does it, it always adds to the magic. Let's spend some of our time this year being aware of what we're doing with and for UUCSV. It will make us do more and become healthier. And isn't that what we say when we wish people a happy new year? We wish you a happy and healthy new year. And, although I usually forget this, a prosperous one. Here's to each of us. Blessed be. Or, blessed be.